Hello, everybody. This is Card Guy Chris Oz,
With Collectible Chris
and we are here to talk to you.
about our results of this past divisional round of the playoffs, as well as our impact players of the week, like we always do. We're also going to talk about our AFC, NFC teams, as well as discuss about the three newest members to the MLB Hall of Fame, which they rightfully deserve. Riders, you finally got it right. So proud of y'all. Okay, first off, the divisional round. The Ravens got their vengeance back against the Texans during the midseason with a score of 34-10. Unstoppable defensive performance by the Ravens. In a gut-clinching performance, the Niners barely scraped by against the Packers with a score of 24-21. The Lions with a Derek Barnes clinching interception. The Lions beat the Bucks 31-23. And as always, with Buffalo kickers, Kansas City scraped by against the Bills 27-24.
Notice the guy was wearing the Scott Norwood number 2.
Yeah.
Notice.
Yeah. It's a curse, Buffalo. Get rid of the number 2 jersey. Please. Please. All right. Now, our impact players of the week. Player of the week for me it has to be Lamar Jackson. Jackson was 16 out of 22 with 152 yards passing, 2 TDs, no interceptions, 11 carries for 100 yards with 2 TDs. Third player to do that in the playoffs, 2 TDs for both passing and rushing. So,
Yep, I went with Christian McCaffrey. 17 carries, 98 yards, 2 TDs. He had 7 receptions for 30 yards. Basically, once he started running the ball, I don't think Green Bay had an answer against the rush.
they didn't.
So, McCaffrey finally doing his thing. So, that was good.
Our rookie, we both agreed with the Detroit Lions, former Alabama running back Jahmyr Gibbs. He had 9 carries, 74 yards, 1 touchdown, and 4 receptions for 40 yards. His other rookie teammate, Laporta, didn't have a bad game as well, catching 65 yards, but Gibbs had the better performance. Defense, I'm going with another Lions guy. I'm going with Mr. Bafatu Melifonwu. He had 9 tackles, 6 solo, 3 assisted with 1.5 sacks.
And I believe I went with Greenland from the Niners.
Greenwall,
yeah. 8 tackles, 6 solo, 2 assisted, and 2 interceptions. Greenwall, please, when you get the interception and you need to go down, just go down. Please. Please. Okay? We don't need you fumbling the ball, especially when I have you as still as my Super Bowl pick to win. So, who we got for picks this week?
All right. Championship games. AFC Championship. We have the number 3 Chiefs versus the number 1 Ravens. Mom went with the Ravens. Who are you going with?
I'm going with Baltimore.
On paper, Baltimore is the best team. The Chiefs had a bad season, but they're in playoff mode right now. It's kind of scary, but I think they got lucky in Buffalo. Ravens all the way. And in the NFC Championship, the number 3 Detroit Lions versus the number 1 49ers.
I have to go with my Super Bowl pick. I'm going to go with Niners.
The Niners are the only team in my Super Bowl since the Bills fumbled.
Well, we both have
We both have Bills versus Niners, and I think I chose Bills to win it all. So, yeah. Josh Allen, I'm sorry. I'm done picking you. I'm done. So, since my Super Bowl guy's out, I can go underdog if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit desperately needs a championship team other than hockey.
Oh, they do have the Pistons of the late 80s.
Yeah, true.
Late 80s, early 90s. Oh, in the 2000s. They beat the Lakers.
Yeah. And I think the Eminem video kind of helps spear up Detroit's spirit. But
they're on the road.
They are on the road, but they're also good on the road.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you know what? I'm not going underdog. I'm going with my Niners. Niners, I have to give it to the Niners. I mean, can Detroit beat them? Yes. I think a lot of people are saying that it should be a beatdown. But honestly, look at how stacked both teams are. I mean, Lions are literally in parallel to the Niners. The only difference is that there's an experienced quarterback behind the offensive line of Detroit who has been at a Super Bowl, and everyone forgets that Goff went to the Super Bowl. It's just that they didn't score a point during that time. I really want Ravens and Niners to win just so we can get a rematch from this week as well as 10 years ago. So that's just me. But I'm still going to go with Niners.
Alrighty.
Will it be the first time in a long time it's number one versus number one?
Yes, that'd be interesting. Well, you got number ones versus number threes, so
I mean, we've had plenty of that.
yeah.
It would have been shocking if a number 17 went against a number one team, though. All right, so we are going to do our NFL first team.
Yeah, these are all gonna. This is not gonna be like a regular, like we're not gonna have like the second team with it, because there'll be other players. Noticeably, there's gonna be some players left off that a lot of people will be like, why? We have basically made the team whether you go with a 3 wide receiver set, a 2 tight end set, have a fullback, three. You've got your 3-4 defense, you got your 4-3 defense. We got guys for that. You got your 3 corners, so you got your slot corner when you need that. So we basically went with that as the prize. We don't have no second teamers. Okay, everybody, but we went with first teamers or who we thought would, be on the team. So we are going to go with our picks. I think we're starting with the AFC first.
Yes.
And who you got at QB1?
QB1, I have to give it a Lamar. I could have said Tua, just because of how many yards Tua has passed. It's just that the interceptions and the fumbles kind of made me go for Lamar more. And Lamar had better rushing as well. Lamar was more of a dual threat than Tua as well. Lamar has had the best year since his MVP year. So I had to give QB1 to Lamar.
Okay, yeah, I mean, he's the front runner right now, I think, for the MVP.
Yes.
So, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. I went with Tua.
Okay.
Because he led the league in passing.
Yes.
For yards. He did throw 14 interceptions, but he was almost 70% thrower at 69.3.
Yeah.
So I gave it to Tua as my QB1. So that's who did you give running back your RB1 to?
I forgot about RB1, RB2, but RB1
no, the RB1 is just your one.
Okay.
You don't. You're not gonna have another. This is my NFC.
NFC. Okay. AFC. I am actually giving it to a second year. I'm going with James Cook for the Bills.
Okay.
Solid year. Couldn't go wrong. I mean, his performance against Dallas really showed more of his potential. And I mean, yes. I mean, Dallas could not tackle worth a dang during that game. No offense, Dad. Yeah. But Cook.
He looked like the Damian Tomlinson during that game.
Exactly, and Cook also rushed for over 1,200 yards this season. So for a sophomore year, Cook really cooked up a good year.
I went with Derrick Henry from Tennessee.
Okay, I can't deny that. Yeah.
280 carries, which actually led in football.
Yes.
Believe it or not. He had 12 touchdowns, had 1,167 rushing yards.
Yeah.
4.2. He had 68 yards a game, which was really good. For an old guy, he did really well.
I agree.
So so far it's been pretty. Who do you have your fullback one? I think we're probably going to agree on this one.
The only fullback that was really a weapon this year, I'm going with Alec Ingold of the Dolphins. He had four touchdowns. Ingold is more of a blocker in the run game, though, and he is a solid weapon, though. If there's anyone to compare him to, I mean, it's really just my NFC pick, and I'm pretty sure we agree on the NFC pick, too. I mean, just short guys that know how to do it well. But Alec reminds me of how Tolbert was. Just a weapon when you needed him in certain situations.
Yeah, I went with Ingold from Miami, too. I mean, there's no doubts in that one. So who is your wide receiver one
My wide receiver one, I'm going with Tyreek Hill for the Dolphins. I just having that many yards with very few receptions compared to everyone else. I mean, he could have broke the record, but you cannot deny his speed, his athleticism.
Okay, it's wide receiver one. I went with Tyreek Hill too. Led the league in. He was tied with receiving touchdowns. He had over 1799 in yards. He had 112.4 yards a game, which led the league. Yeah, I went with. So you said Tyreek first, right?
Yep.
Who's your next wide receiver in the two wide receiver set?
I'm going with Nico Collins for the Texans. Just a great year with Houston.
I like that pick.
I mean, he was just incredible with Stroud. Stroud gained confidence when he passed with Nico, so I just had to go with Nico with the season he had.
Okay, I went with Devontae Adams from Las Vegas.
Okay, I can't deny that. He had a great year, especially when Aiden stepped in.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, he had over 1,100 yards, over 11 yards a catch. He had 8 touchdowns though. He didn't have a lot of yards a game. He had 67. But I went with Adams as the number. So who's your third wide receiver in a third set?
Oh, so you said tight end, though, right?
No,
If
we go three wide receivers. Who is your third wide receiver be?
Okay, sorry.
You name whoever. It don't really matter.
I mean, all right, AFC. You know what? That's easy for me actually. Stephon Diggs for Buffalo. Stephon Diggs always over 1,000 yards. I remember he had 12 TDs. Just great yards after catch. I know he is still ticked off with Buffalo right now. I mean, it hurts when you're a good caliber receiver and you cannot get to the Super Bowl. And Diggs has always been a great weapon from his days in Minnesota. And if he goes to another team next year, I mean, a team is going to need that veteran wide. So.
Well, I agree on third. I put with Diggs.
All right.
He had 1183. He had 11.1 on the yards per catch. He had 8 touchdowns.
Oh, 8. Okay, my bad.
And then he had like 69.6 yards a game. So that was good. Okay. So now we're going to go to our tight end.
Okay.
Tight end 1. And then if we have a 2 tight end set.
Oh, I forgot about that. Dang it.
So.
All right. Well, tight end 1, I did want to be the traditional Travis Kelce guy. So I'm going with David Njoku from the Browns. That's
a good one.
883 yards, and when Flacco stepped in, he was basically the number 1 target for Flacco in numerous situations. I cannot remember how many touchdowns he had, but David had a great year. I just didn't want to give it a Kelce had tight end 1 because Kelce was less than 1,000. He had 900. He was close, 996. 84, and 5 touchdowns during the regular season.
Yeah.
So it wasn't typical Kelce numbers to me. I think with how David stepped up in Cleveland, I thought David deserved it more.
Yeah, I'm giving it to Evan Ingram from Jacksonville. He had 114 receptions, but he also had 143 targets.
Oh, dang.
963 yards. He averaged 8.4. He had 4 touchdowns. He averaged 56.6 yards a game. He was my 1. Who's your 2?
No, I'll give it to Ingram, actually, because I do agree with that. I mean, he just was a stellar pick for Lawrence. I mean, last year he reemerged, and this year he just continued. So
okay, my tight end 2 is actually Kelce.
Okay.
And you're right, his numbers were not near what they usually are, because he had 93 receptions, but he had 121 targets. He had 984, 10.6. I mean, it was just not typical. To me, it wasn't a typical Kelce season. So.
Okay. I mean, let's just say he was weakened in the knees due to a certain lady. So
yeah. We'll go to the line now.
Okay.
For the AFC, go ahead with yours. You can name your guys from what team you used.
Okay, so I just did a team on the offensive and defensive line. with one exception in the offensive line. Right guard, right tackle, left tackle will be from the Ravens. So Kevin Zetter, Ben Cleveland, Morgan Moses, and Ronnie Stanley.
Okay.
But my center will be Creed Humphrey from the Chiefs because Creed has been a stellar guy since his 2020 rookie year. I mean, he was actually third in rookie voting as a center because he didn't allow a sack. Only allowed 2 sacks in his 3-year career. So Creed is just a very good front leader when it comes to the Chiefs line. But the Ravens just only giving up a little over, actually less than 20 sacks on Lamar, and that's really impressive.
Yeah. My left tackle, I got Deion Dawkins from Buffalo. I went with individual players, but we do have an agreement on one. I went with Joe Bettino, left guard from Cleveland. Creed Humphreys from Kansas City, we agree on.
Okay.
Yeah, stellar guy. I went with Quentin Nelson from Indianapolis for right guard.
Okay.
And right tackle, I went for the guy from Houston, Lamar Tunzel. Tunzel's just one of those guys. He's a great player. We'll go ahead and do defense,
Okay.
and then we'll get from there we'll do our kicker, punter, kick returner.
Okay.
You know. So AFC. Okay, we got our defense.
Yeah.
You got your 2 D linemen, right?
Well, I got the front four with.
Oh, that's right. You did your front 4 as a team.
Yeah.
So go ahead and go with your front 4 then.
All right, my front four. Once I'm doing Ravens O line, Ravens D line. So I'm going with Justin Madubiki, Michael Pierce, Broderick Washington, and Liz Campbell.
Hold on. Whoops. Set up. Okay. Say who was? Oh, you went with.
Right.
Okay, so who was your Baltimore guys again? I'm sorry.
Justin Madubiki,
Yep.
Michael Pierce, Broderick Washington, and Kellyus Campbell.
Okay. Well, we agree on one.
Okay.
That's good. Defensive ends, I got Trey Hetterson from Cincinnati. He had 17 and a half sacks, 28 solo, 15 assisted, 43, and then he had 16 tackles for losses. My other defensive end is Max Crosby from Las Vegas.
Ooh, yeah.
Here's where numbers between him and Myles Garrett. I think Max was on the field a whole lot more than Myles Garrett was, but Max actually had a couple statistics higher than Myles, so I went with Max. He had 14 and a half sacks, 55 solo, 35 assisted, 90 tackles, and then he had 23 tackles for loss. Defensive tackle, as my defensive tackle number 1 in a 3-4, Justin Mandaduk, whatever, from Baltimore. Sorry, Justin. He had a good year, 13 sacks, 38 solo, 18 assisted, 56, and he had 12 tackles for loss. And then in my 4-3, I have my extra defensive tackle is Chris Jones for Kansas City.
Okay, yeah.
10 and a half, 20, 10, 30, and 13. So he did good there. Going to linebackers now. What we got?
I had to give it to Alex Singleton from the Broncos. Just a solid year. The best defensive weapon the Broncos had all year. A stellar young guy to come on the field.
Okay, that's your outside linebacker?
Middle linebacker.
Okay, you got 2 middle linebackers, right?
Yeah, I got 2 middle linebackers in my outside.
Okay, I got my middle linebacker for the 4-3 is Zaire Franklin from Indianapolis.
Okay.
He had 1.5 sacks. He had 107 solo tackles.
Yeah.
72 assisted, 179, and then he had 3 QB. I mean not QB, but tackles for losses. So he had a pretty. Who's your number 2 for the 3-4?
I'm going with Josh Allen for the Jaguars. Another stellar year by Nomis. He had only 5 sacks, but he did have 4 forced fumbles, and he also had numerous pass deflections. So great coverage guy.
Yeah, I went with Roquan Smith from Baltimore.
Okay, Roquan,
Yeah, Roquan, 1.5 sacks. He had 84, 74, and 158, and he had 5 tackles for losses.
yeah.
So who you got for your outside linebackers?
I had to give it to Khalil Mack for the Chargers. I mean, 17 sacks. First time in a long time that Khalil was actually close to being the number one sack leader again since his days in with the former Oakland Raiders. Just phenomenal comeback year.
Yeah, he had a good year. I agree with you. I got Khalil at 17. Yep, 57 solo, 17 assisted. He had 74, but he also had 21 tackles for losses.
Yeah.
So he definitely was getting there. Who's your other one?
Oh, I need another outside linebacker. Ah, dang.
Who was your one other linebacker you had? What were your linebackers again?
Alex Singleton, Josh Allen, and Khalil Mack.
Okay.
Oh, dang. What's his name?
For what team?
The Bills.
Oh, you mean not Von Miller, but
Milano.
okay.
Even though he was hurt, he still had stellar numbers. He led the league in tackles before his injury. He was at 77 tackles. He had 3 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. I mean, always a captain.
Don't forget
Presence.
to put him on your list.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I put Jonathan Cooper from Denver.
Oh, Cooper.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
He had 8.5 sacks. He had 44 solo, 28 assisted, 72, but he also had 8 tackles for losses there. So, yeah, I mean, we agree on Khalil for sure. I mean, I think Khalil.
Yeah.
Now let's go to our corners.
All right. CB1 for me is going to be Rasul Douglas for the Bills.
Wow. Okay.
5 interceptions, about 55 solo tackles. So for a corner, just a stellar year.
Yeah, I got Stingley for Houston as my number 1. 5, 17, 13. He had 5 interceptions, 17 yards. He had 13 pass defenses. Then he had 28 tackles, 11, and 39. Who's your number 2?
Derek Stingley, actually.
All right. We agree on 1. All right. Okay. That's good. I went with, since we agreed on that, so we don't need to say his numbers again, obviously. I went with Steve Nelson from Houston as my number 2. He had 4 interceptions, 33 yards, 12 pass defenses. He had 48, 15, and 63. Who you got as your number 3?
I actually don't have a number 3. Oh, well, wait. I put Jalen Ramsey from the Dolphins, actually.
Okay.
Ramsey had 5 interceptions, 46 solo. Always a great guy, but of course he got hurt, making that miraculous interception on week 15, which really hurt the Dolphins' chances of really in the playoffs. Because I mean that's one of your best defensive threats, one of the best, always a top 5 corner since his rookie year.
All right, I went with Martin Emerson from Cleveland.
Okay.
He had 4 interceptions, 24 yards. He had 14 pass defenses. He had 45 tackles, 14 assisted for 59 total. Who you got as your safeties? You should have 2.
Okay, so my strong safety, I got Geno Stone from the Ravens.
Okay. Geno Stone from the Ravens. I got him too. Yep. That was a good pick. Okay.
And you have the stats on that one, don't you?
Yeah, I got 7 interceptions, 101 yards. He had 44 tackles, 24 assisted, and 68 total. So he had a good year.
Okay.
Who did you go with your second?
I went with Tony Adams from the Jets.
Wow. I went with a different guy. But yeah, we picked the same team. So, because I went with Jordan Whitehead. What was
Yeah, I'll get his stats. Hold on.
Yeah. Whitehead, I'll go ahead and say mine. He had 4 interceptions for 6 yards. So, obviously, he didn't go far when he intercepted. He did have a half a sack. He had 65 solo, 32 assisted. He had 97 total, and he had 3 tackles for losses.
All right. Well, tackles for loss, I won't know. But Tony Adams had 55 solo tackles, 3 interceptions, 5 pass deflections,
Okay,
and
good.
tackles for loss. ESPN does not do that.
Okay, that's cool. It's all good.
Yeah.
So who we got as our kicker, punter, and kick punt returner?
You want to do kicker first?
Yep.
It's a no-brainer every year. Justin Tucker.
Yep. That we agree. We don't need to say more.
Yeah.
Who's your punter?
Okay, my punter. I had to give some love to at least one person from this team, but this guy had the most inside the 20s all year in the NFL. I'm going with Bryce Bellringer from the New England Patriots.
I went with Corey Bajaguez from Cleveland.
I mean, he was good too. I mean,
Yeah.
he did less punts than Bryce,
Yeah.
and if I remember correctly, he had 28 inside
Yeah.
the 20.
Yeah, he had a high percentage of something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with Bryce, he had 31 inside the 20s.
That's good.
So
That's good. I mean, he was giving his defense a chance.
But what defense?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, true. Kick punt returner is who?
Okay, my kick returner, I'm going with Downs. Even though he didn't have any.
Okay, so you chose a kick and a punt returner.
Yes.
Okay, I chose one that did both. So
Well, I did a one for.
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's however you want to do it.
And punt returner though was Braxton Berrios from the Dolphins because he actually returned four for a TD.
I went with Xavier Gibson from the Jets.
Okay.
He had a good year. He had really, really good numbers there. Okay. There was people that we agreed on that one.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
Who was your special teams?
Oh, a special team player. I didn't come with one, so.
I went with TJ Watt.
All right. Hey. TJ Watt playing special teams. That's scary in itself.
Exactly. It's the Bobby Boucher.
Bobby Boucher. All right. All right. We're going with Bobby Boucher as our special teams player, Babel. Okay. I'll just let you know on both teams. Okay.
My mama said. Okay.
All right. We'll go with the NFC now. Who's your QB one?
I had to give it to Brock Purdy. I mean, you could give it to other people in the NFC. You could make a strong argument for Dak Prescott. You can make a strong argument for Jalen Hurts. You can even do a strong argument for Jared Goff. Purdy had a better QBR than any other quarterback in the league. He had less interceptions than most other people, especially a second-year player. He probably didn't have the TDs like how Goff and Hurts would, but he had the yards, he had the consistency, he had the best TD interception ratio. I had to give it to Purdy.
Yeah, I got no problem with that. I went with Jared Goff of Detroit.
I mean, I agree with that.
I mean, the only thing I didn't like about with Goff's numbers was his QB rating.
Yeah.
It's 97.9, and there was a lot of other ones that were better.
Yeah.
But he did throw for 30 touchdowns and 12 picks, so I have no problem with Goff. Who is your running back one?
I had to give it to McCaffrey.
We agree.
I mean, what else can you say about McCaffrey?
Led the league in rushing. He had over 20 total touchdowns. I mean, can't go wrong, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I assume that's who you went with.
Yeah.
Your RB1.
How about your fullback one?
Did we not do an RB2? Oh, no, that's right. Another Niner guy, Kyle Juszczyk.
Yeah. We both agree on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you got the old system of the Darryl Johnson, Emmitt Smith, the fullback, making the hole, and the guy going through it, there you go. Man, he's just a total weapon for that team.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And NFC, who's your wide receiver one?
CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, we agree on that.
I mean, I don't think there's nothing bad to say about him at all. You really can't say nothing bad about him at all.
I mean, he led the league in receptions, targets. Almost led the league in receiving yards. I had over 13 yards a catch. He had 12 touchdowns, which was good. And then he had 102.9 receiving yards a game. The only person that was ahead of him was, of course, Tyreek. So, how about your number 2?
Amon-Ra St. Brown from the Lions.
We both agreed on that.
119 receptions, 1,515 yards, 10 touchdowns with a 12.7 average per catch.
Yeah.
I mean, really the weapon for Detroit that gave Goff to be put on the mound along with Laporta. So I bust St. Brown for sure.
What about a 3 wide receiver set? Who are you putting as a 3rd wide receiver?
Oh, I have to give it to the rookie Puka Nacua.
We agree on all 3.
Okay.
Puka was my number 3.
And of course, set the rookie record for receptions with 105, 1,486 yards receiving, only 6 touchdowns. But I mean, with over 1,000 yards receiving, the 6 touchdowns is really pointless. I mean, but just a stellar rookie year from
He
him.
had 55 more attempts to his catches. He had 105 catches with 116 targets.
Oh wow!
Can you imagine if he would have got some of those more? Because, yeah, that's like a big difference.
Yeah.
Because Amara had 14 more catches and 4 more targets.
Then Puka.
Yep.
Golly.
Yeah. So.
Shoot, if the dang coach would have just let them in the last Niner game, he could have more receptions.
Yep.
But
tight end number 1.
I gotta give it to George Kittle. I just think he just had a solid. You know what? Here we go. Let me actually have the stats on here. All right. 1,020 yards with 6 TDs. So over 1,000 yards once again. 6 touchdowns. Always multiple yards after catch. I have to give it to him. For sure.
I didn't have Kittle on my list. Sorry.
What?
I had T.J. Hockenson from Minnesota.
Okay. I can't deny that.
I mean, he had 95 catches out of 127 targets, so he was catching what was coming to him. He had 960 yards. He probably would have been more of a target, more if someone else would have been there. He averaged 10.1 a catch. Had 5 TDs, so he wasn't bad. Who's your?
You said TJ, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's my number 2 anyway because
He's
like
number 2.
Yeah, he's my number 2.
Okay.
So who's your number 2?
Sam Laporta from Detroit.
Okay, I can't deny that. The 10 touchdowns is what helped him.
Yeah, I did. He does have 889 yards, but he was catching like 10.3 yards a catch.
Yeah.
So he's getting a first down when he catches the ball.
Yeah.
So that's not bad.
I mean, I can't deny that. It's just the fact that Kittle always gets 1,000 yards. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, a little.
Yeah, I completely. I mean, usually I'd put probably Kittle and not even think about it. But how about your offensive line?
Okay, so once again, I'm doing teams with one little correction. My center is going to be Jason Kelsey for the Eagles. Just always a stellar guy that is just a great commander on that front, just to make sure that Hurts doesn't get hurt. And, of course, the right guard, left tackle is going to be the Niners offense with Aaron Banks, Spencer Burford, Colton McKivitz, and Trent Williams. And, of course, Trent Williams only allowed 3 sacks this whole year.
Yep. I'm going with a put-together line. So I went with left tackle. I went with Tyrone Smith from Dallas.
I'll agree with that.
I went with left guard, Tyler Smith from Dallas. Then I went right guard. I went Kevin Dotson from the Rams.
I agree with that.
And then I went with Lane Johnson, the right tackle from Philly.
He only allowed one sack, so yeah.
So that's my offensive line there. We both agree on Kelsey. So now we need...
Because he has a real woman for a wife. Okay, I'm done.
So we're going now to our NFC defenses. Who are your defensive ends?
Well, again, I just did a team.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I'm going with the Bucks, who led the NFC in team sacks with the front four getting over half of it. Greg Gaines, Vita Vea, Khalid Kancey, and Logan Hall.
So you went with your 4 right there. Okay. I'm going with my defensive ends. I'm going with Carl Granderson from New Orleans. He had 8.5 sacks, 34, 14, 44, and then 14 tackles for loss. I went with Jaron Reed from Seattle as my other defensive end. He had 7 sacks. He had 27, 27, and 54. And then he had 7 tackles for losses. Defensive tackle, Derek Brown from Carolina.
Oh, yeah, he did.
He only had two sacks, but had 57 tackles, 46 assisted for 103, and then had 7 tackles for losses. And then I went with Nick Bosa as another because he could play anywhere on a defensive line. He had 10.3 sacks, 34, 19, 53, and then 16. How about your linebacking crew? You got
linebacker 1, I got Michael Parsons.
okay, we agree on that. We definitely agree on that. Yeah, he had 14 sacks, 36, 28, 64, and then 18 tackles for losses. Who's your
linebacker 2?
Yeah.
Linebacker 2, I'm actually going someone with Carolina. I am going with trying to find his stats, Mr. Frankie Louvu.
Ricky. Okay.
Tackles for loss, he had 10 tackles for loss.
Wow.
The 5 pass deflections, 2 forced fumbles. Oh, there we go. There's the 5.5 sacks with 125 total tackles.
My linebacker for the 3-4, my linebacker 2 would be Bobby Wagner. 3.5 sacks, 96, solo 87, assisted 183, total tackles with 11 tackles for losses.
Well, I got Wagner at my outside linebacker, so.
Okay, so we agree. Okay, because he can do that.
Yep.
Who do you got as your outside linebackers then?
All right, Bobby Wagner for 1, and my other one is going to be Fred Warner for the 49ers.
Oh.
So Fred Warner had 132 total tackles, 2.5 sacks, 11 pass deflections, 4 interceptions for 63 yards, with 4 forced fumbles.
Okay, I went with Daniel Hunter from Minnesota. 16.5 sacks, 54 tackles, 29 assisted, 83 total with 23 tackles for losses. And then my other outside linebacker is Kayvon Thibodeau, who had 11.5 sacks. He actually had a pretty good year in sack performance. 26 tackles, 24 assisted, 50 total, and 12 for loss. All right, we're at the cornerback position. Who you got for your...
Number 1 is going to be Darren Bland with the 9 interception performance he had all year.
Yeah, that's an obvious one. I agree with that. We agree on that one. Who's your number 2?
I'm going with another rookie. I am going with my boy from Seattle. I'm going with Devon Witherspoon.
Okay.
Yeah, no quarters. Brief intermission. I'm sorry.
Oh, I got his numbers.
Okay, cool.
1 interception for 97 yards with 1 TD. He had 16 pass deflections. He had 3 sacks, 56 assisted. 56 solo, 23 assisted, 79 total, and he had 8 tackles for loss.
8 tackles.
Yep, for loss.
And that's why he should be defensive rookie of the year, y'all.
And who you got for your corner 3?
I'm going with Travarius Ward.
He was my number 2.
Oh, okay.
If you need stats, I got it.
Hey, go ahead.
Okay, he's my number 2. He's your number 3.
Yes.
Okay, so we agree on all 3.
All 3 guys, just in different.
Yeah. Ward had 5 interceptions, 91 yards, 1 touchdown. He had 23 pass defenses, 56 solo, 16 assisted, 72, and then he had 2 tackles for losses.
Okay.
So he had a pretty good season. Who's your safeties?
My safety 1 is going to be Jesse Bates III from the Falcons.
I agree. He's my number 1.
Okay, and I got the stats on here too. 89 solo tackles.
Yeah.
3 forced fumbles, 6 interceptions, and 11 pass deflections.
Yeah, those 6 interceptions went 95 yards with the touchdown. He had 89 solo, 43 assisted. He had 132 totals.
Dang.
And he had 3 tackles for losses. Who's your number 2?
I'm going with Brian Branch from the Lions.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I another rookie, shocking, but
Hey, rookie's got to be there, right?
yeah. But with Brian Branch, he had 50 solo tackles, 1 forced fumble, 3 interceptions, and 13 pass deflections.
Yeah, I went with Julian Love from Seattle. Had 4 interceptions, only 7 yards, so he wasn't getting far. He had 10 pass deflections. He had 85 solos, 38 assisted, 123 total, and then 1 tackle for loss.
Okay.
And now we go to our last people. Who's your kicker?
I think it's a no-brainer on this one, especially his performance with the 4 50-plus yarders. I'm going with Brendan Aubrey of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep, same here. So we both agree on kickers.
Punter, I'm actually going with Tress Way from the Commanders.
Oh,
Pinned his opponents 25 times inside the 20. And the Commanders did punt a lot as well, so his yards was just out.
Yeah. I went with Jake Camarda from Tampa. Camarda
Okay, yeah.
from Tampa. He had a good year. Had a high percentage, too, of kicks inside the 20, I think, and stuff. Who's your kick and punt returner?
Kick returner, I'm going with Velus Jones Jr. from the Bears.
Okay.
He actually had 2 kick returns for a touchdown. And my punt returner is going to be Rashid Shaheed from the Saints.
Rashid Shaheed was my guy for both. So, and Bobby Boucher, by the way, is my special teams player. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I went with Nick Bosa, so.
Okay. It's all good.
All right.
So there's that on that. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll probably put the people that we agree on and see what on that one team. I mean, corners we're pretty excited on. I think they were pretty.
Corners and the NFC wide receivers, well, we were like really spot on.
Yeah. So it's just putting together a team. I mean, it's however you guys want to do it. I mean, we wanted to do it this way. Next year we might do it more like a Pro Bowl type thing, and do it that way. But I thought we did good on that.
Oh yeah. 100%.
So let's talk about the Baseball Hall of Fame.
All right. So the Riders,
Missed one. They missed one.
Missed one guy.
But 3 out of 4, we'll give you some credit there, guys. Okay?
Yeah. So voting was actually really good this year, and with 95% of the vote, Mr. Adrian Beltre, former Seattle Mariner, started with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I think most people remember him as a Texas Ranger, though. The guy that always kneels down, hitting home runs. But Beltre's numbers, if y'all didn't know this, he was a career third baseman. His WAR was 93.5. He had over 3,000 hits at 3,166, 477 home runs with a batting average of 286. So good career numbers. He should have. I thought he was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he is. He is definitely a class player. Always loved being around with kids. Was just a great act. Was never a selfish player. So if y'all have not seen any highlights, just type up Beltre hitting home runs with his knee on the ground. Like those were always insane in Old Arlington.
Mm-hmm. Guy was Gold Glove defender. Him and Elvis Andrus always played around in the infield. A lot of people forget he played for Boston for a season.
I forgot about that.
And that kind of turned when he went to Texas. I think once he started playing with Texas, he's just got more comfortable and more of a home. Because you look at his Dodger statistics, they were not the greatest in the world. And then when he went to Seattle, they were pretty good. And then, but you look at when once he went to Texas, it was just he was just on another planet as third baseman for the American League. Let's go ahead and go with our next Hall of Famer if you want.
This guy has deserved it, and I don't care which ballpark he represented. This guy was always a class player, always a tremendous first baseman. Mr. Todd Helton of the Colorado Rockies. 61.8 WAR, 25 over 2,500 hits, 2,519 hits, 369 home runs, a batting average of 316.
Yeah. Great guy for Colorado, Mr. Colorado. Second Rocky to go into the Hall of Fame. Larry Walker being the first. Obviously, there's only one cap, obviously, that it's going to be worn because he only played for one team his whole career. And great player, deserves to be there. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care about the splits between Colorado and elsewhere. The guy was a feared hitter no matter where he went. So, yeah, great player. One hell of a defensive first baseman. Reminded me a lot of Don Mattingly, watching him. So,
Agreed.
So we're going to go to the third.
Which actually surprised me since his home run numbers are not up there. And you would think that Jorge Posada deserved to be in the Hall of Fame because of numbers like this. But Mr. Joe Mauer of the Twins got elected. His WAR was 55.2. Hits, over 2,000 hits, though, 2,123. He had 143 home runs, but his lifetime batting average was 306. He was originally a catcher, but when he got his knee problems, his knee injury, he went to first base, and then he was the designated hitter his last 2 years of the league. Always known as a baby face. I like he never changed his face at all. Always looked like a young kid. Had a great proficiency as a catcher, though. I would get people out when trying to steal bases. Like, he was a phenomenal defensive catcher, in my opinion. And when he got hurt, it just hurt his career. I mean, he only lasted... he didn't even last 10 years. He lasted 10 years. So, yeah. His last year was 2018, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He won 3 batting titles as a catcher, which is pretty impressive.
Yes. Also an MVP.
Yeah, he won an MVP as a catcher. Also impressive. A hard position to play your whole career in.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
oh, dang, and I forgot to talk about the All-Stars and all that, but that's okay.
And you also look at, you look at what he did for Minnesota. He was a Minnesota Twin his whole career. So if you look at it, it's like you got 2 guys in the Hall, and Curry Puckett and him being Twins the whole year. So it's not bad. So who we go into next?
The veteran committee.
Oh, we're going to the veteran committee. It was decided in December.
The person that's joining Mr. Mauer, Beltray, and Helton into the Hall of Fame is going to be former longtime manager and former World Series champion, Mr. Jim Leyland. Started his career with the Pirates, was with the Pirates for 10 years, went to the Marlins, won a World Series with the Marlins in 97, managed the Rockies for 1 year, and then he finished his remaining years with Detroit, winning 2 AL pennants with Detroit. And if you remember just 2010's Leland, then he was just a charismatic guy. I mean, couldn't go wrong, and actually a good lifetime win-loss record as a manager. 1,769 wins to 1,728 losses, 2 ties, and his win percentage was .506.
Yeah, I mean, he managed some bad teams. He did. Managed some good teams too. He managed the pirate teams with Bonds, Bonilla, Andy Van Slyke, Tim Wakefield. He also managed teams that shouldn't have been on the field. That Marlins World Series team with Sheffield, Bonilla, Lowe, Darren Dalton, Kevin Brown, Levon Hernandez, Jeff Conine, Pudge, I believe was on. No, Pudge was on the other team, on that team. Dalton was the catcher for that team. But he did actually manage Pudge in Detroit, though. So if you look at it, you know, I think overall he deserved to be in there.
Oh yeah, they all deserve. Of course, you say the one person that deserves it is Wagner. Hold up, no, is it Wagner?
Yeah, Wagner missed it by 4 votes.
By
He'll get
4
it
votes.
next year.
And next year will be his last year of eligibility.
He'll get the 4 votes next year. Because the only other person I think is a shoe-in is Ichiro.
Mm-hmm.
Ichiro's first ballot Hall of Famer. And I mean, there's some other people in there that are like, oh, this guy's... I'm like, There's certain guys you would like to see in the Hall of Fame just to say, hey. CC Sabathia, is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? Over
Not
Ichiro?
first ballot, fourth, fifth year at least.
I mean, is he on that Ichiro line? No. There's a couple other guys that are going to be new that are on there that are on
No, since you did that.
Oh no, I don't. I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't think he's on that first ballot line.
Well, hold up. How many strikeouts?
Well, he had a lot of strikeouts. He had good. I mean that
over 3,000.
Yeah, I mean that Milwaukee year alone would put him in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, when he went 11-2.
Yeah. I mean that alone.
Okay, so 251 wins, 161 losses, ERA 3.74.
The ERA is the only thing that might get him, but I don't think it's going to hurt him.
It's not first ballot, but fourth or fifth year.
I mean, there's some other guys that are going to be on that list too for next year.
I'm just surprised Beltran didn't get higher voting this year. That's actually shocked.
So, but it is baseball. So, you got anything?
Not at this time,
Right.
because when I get my card, we'll just show it on the channel.
Yes, we will. So, everybody, this is Card Guy Chris Oz,
But collectible Chris.
and we'll be talking to you later.